Yes. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Happy New Year. It is the 1st of January, first day of 2026, excuse me. And it's time for another episode of Trafford Talk, your Thursday special here on United View. And I am joined by maybe one of the most controversial people on football Twitter, on Manchester United Twitter.
I shouldn't be smiling. I forgot. Hold on. Yeah.
Social media right now. And that is James from the Muppetiers. First of all, Happy New Year. How are you doing?
Terrible. Accusations.
Yes.
Very serious business to discuss today. So
yeah.
Forget the formalities. I'm not interested.
Good.
Let's get down to business. I'm here to clear my name. My good name is being sullied across the internet these days.
Good. I wanted to start off doing the formalities, because I think it's important, wish everyone a happy new year. Welcome to the show. But you're right. We are here today to do serious business. If you have been on social media the last 24, 48 hours, really ever since the Wolves game, it's been pretty severe. A lot of clips going around of James, some in context, some out of context. And today we're going to try and get to the bottom of this. There's evidence, there's a courtroom, there's a judge. Okay. Now, James has decided to dress up, like anyone should. If they're on trial, you go into court, you dress up and you have your day in court. And that's exactly what James is going to have today. Now, I'm going to have to do a bit of a hybrid role, folks, to be honest with you, because I'm going to have to be judge, kind of jury-ish. I'm going to say executioner, prosecution. That's kind of what I'm going to have to do. And since James dressed up, I thought I've got to dress up as well, right? And not going to lie, kind of last minute, it's difficult to get a judge attire on, and source that, but I've done my best, right? What we do have behind me is my gown. I'm gonna move this. Actually, I'll play some court music for you in the background. This will hype everyone up. This is serious stuff. This one. There you go.
I'm representing myself, Eunice. Now, wearing a tie means you're guilty. It means you're trying to make up for all the things you've done.
If you do see me sort of squint during this, is because I found these glasses in the house and I can't see if I put them on. So I'm going to have to do the proper judge thing of like lean them down like that. And I'll be leaning forward a lot of the time. But we've got this. We've got this, right? So what do we need next? I won't play the music again because it's important. You've got to build the hype. Carry on. Yep. We have to enter court.
There we go.
We have the defendant. We have Judge Owen, because obviously I'm from Kingston. And we've got evidence. We've got accusations. Do we have crime, though? Will justice be rearing its head today? Will the scales of justice be balanced, or will they be lopsided in the favor of the prosecution or the defense? Today, James comes to clear his name. That's what it's going to be. Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be. And also the important thing is here, folks, if you guys have questions, if you guys have opinions, if you guys have evidence or accusations, now is your time. No judgment, apart from myself, hence. But now is the time. So get involved, get in the comments, get your super chats and your members chats in, and click the like button and be sure to subscribe as well. Thank you very much. Court, is now in session. Right. Okay. It has been a bit of a whirlwind. It's been a bit of a whirlwind. Probably, them clones, probably. It has been a bit of a whirlwind, 24, 48 hours with a lot of clips going around, some in context, not in context. And the one that I saw the most, James, was this one. We can get it up on the screen. It was this, right? This made the rounds. And I would like to explain this. This was in regards to Ruben Amorim succeeding or not succeeding at Manchester United, and maybe people's opinions on why he wasn't succeeding or he isn't succeeding, is succeeding, and if they were scared of being proved wrong. This is what you had to say.
We already know that Ruben Amorim is going to be here for the end of the year. So what are you so scared of? It's not changing. What are you so scared of? Because I think there's people that are scared he's going to be successful, and that's why they get so upset about it. Because if he is successful, then they will be wrong, and they can't handle it. I think people are scared he will be successful because he's going to be here for the year, and you already know it. Everyone's already confirmed it. The owners have said it. Everyone has said it. So what are you scared of? If he's at the end of this,
that silence was pretty deafening there at the end as well. Would you like to retort, explain, add a bit of context to that? Do you stand by it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I stand by it. So I'll give you context in who I'm referring to, right? There's people like yourself, Flex, myself, other fan channels, other people. Win, lose, or draw, we're all there. We're all in front of you people. We're all here. We have a loss in the last game, and I stand there in front minutes after the game talking about it, facing the music for anything going on there. There are many, many people online who hide behind private accounts, nameless and faceless accounts that only speak when we lose. And you'll notice their feeds are silent when we win. Quiet. They never pop up. They don't pop up in the comments. Every time we win, they're nowhere to be found. Every time I do a post-match show and I get speakers coming in, when we lose, 10 people want to speak. When we win, there's 2. That's the reality of it. There are different people, and there are a lot of them who do not want to show up when we win. They do not want to show up when the good games happen. They only show up when it's bad. And those are the people I'm referring to in particular. And they know who they are. I invited multiple of them to come on a Spaces with me a few weeks ago. Nowhere to be found. And that was after a loss. They're scared. They are scared. And that is the reality of those people that I'm speaking about. And it's not people who disagree with me. It's not people like you who maybe are like right now. I don't know where your stance is actually, but if you were Amaramount or Flex or something like that, it's not those people. We've got a group chat, don't we? One individual only pipes up when we lose, and every time we win, there's not a single message that goes in there, is it? You know that to be true. You've seen it with your own evidence. Yeah. Zero messages after every win.
We name names in this court.
Yeah. Well, let's put it like don't do that. Every time we win, it's crickets. I even put a cricket in the last time we win, because every time we lose or draw, it's endless messages. Every time we win, it's quiet, silence. I don't pop up when we win and start sending a bunch of messages about how amazing everything is. I don't do that. I'm here to not react to
bit of an objection there. The reason I would put a bit of an objection for that one, after the Liverpool game, were you not on the red carpet wearing sunglasses?
Weren't we all? Well, okay, that's true. Okay, but to be fair, I'll defend myself. One, that was months ago. Okay, I don't do it after every win, let's say. Liverpool was special. That was Anfield away. We beat Anfield away. And let me also remind everybody that a lot of people came with the sunglasses as well and put them on. We started a trend. They all followed. I'm innocent on that one. But that was months ago as well. I don't do it after every game. Liverpool away is a special case. We haven't won in 10 years. It's been 10 years since we won at Anfield.
These are just facts for the jury to consider. Like Mike says, he compared Poch and Maresca record on X, but won't dare compare Amorim to Erik ten Hag. He is so biased and exposes himself daily. Never criticizes INEOS.
I don't expose myself daily. I tend to keep my pants on most of the time. So I just want to say that.
Well, okay, objection. This is a serious matter. This is a serious matter. Scrap that from the record. Okay, disregard it, members, ladies and gentlemen, the jury. What to the statement at the end of that super chat that you never criticize INEOS?
I criticize them all the time. I told them they were morons when they kept Ten Hag. I said there's about a dozen things every single day that I'll criticize them for. It's just people want me to criticize for the specific things that I don't think are wrong. That's it. If somebody wants to bring something up that I should criticize them for that I don't, then I will happily do that.
Like Mike also says, winning is the best way. Winning is the best way to shut up the critics. Now, this is when it kind of goes back to the response to said clip that was going around. I did see some of these accounts that were saying this. Even the dog's kind of a bit on the fence about these ones, to be fair. You can tell in the background. This one comes from, this was a quote tweet. It said, LOL or LOL. These people's logic kills me. We don't rate Amorim based on the evidence at hand. If Amorim was to win the Premier League, he would have proved the doubters wrong and the club would be in a good position. Why would we be scared about that? What is your reaction to that response? Are they missing the point? Are they missing the context of what you're saying there?
Clearly. Because then they're not one of those people. It's pretty simple as that. I'm talking about the people who don't show up when we win and only show up to criticize when we lose. That's all. And the people who genuinely don't want us to be successful. There are people right now who are like that. We've seen it before. There's people who ask for us to lose games under Ten Hag as well. I never wanted us to lose a game under Ten Hag. There's a lot of people who did. KG had to backtrack himself earlier this year for saying he hoped we lost so that the manager would go. And he came back on that, changed his mind, and sorted it out and got himself on the right track. But there's a lot of people like that. And that's what I'm talking about.
I would, and this is where I get into my dual role. Take the glasses off. I have experienced that on the other end of the spectrum.
It does happen both ways, 100%.
I've experienced on the other end of the spectrum of, I go back to after the said Liverpool game, I've been told to apologize several times, apologize by people that I had not heard from or seen from since prior to the Grimsby game.
Yep.
And they said to me at that very time that, how dare I even contemplate that we could lose to Grimsby? We did. They disappeared. And then they came back after the Liverpool game telling me to apologize. So I have seen evidence of this on both ends of the spectrum. And I would like to add that also into evidence as well.
And I completely agree with that for what it's worth. And where the clip is out of context is if you watch the whole thing on the live many times in recent weeks, I've talked about. So I think there was a game a few weeks back where Sully said a nice tweet about Mainu after he came on and did, and a few things. And people were attacking him in the comments about running PR for Mainu because of, and this and that about him having a good game or something. Because this was like, I think when we won or something like that. And we were successful in that game. And then people turned around and I went on the live after that and I said, don't do that either. It's the same thing. You don't just go after people with different opinions because, you're seeing it differently. I hate the whole camps that it all gets into. It drives me nuts. It doesn't have to be that way, but there's camps on both sides and it shouldn't be. People should just be able to have an opinion and live it up, whether it's good or bad, and face the music.
Item Panda says, man said you should cheer when your car starts. Did you say that?
No, that's gaslighting. Never said those words.
Gaslighting.
No.
And gas in America means petrol as well, so that links to the car. Now, this was something that I did see quite a lot of when I was going through these clips. So once again, we will play the clip of what you said regarding Ruben Amorim. This is a shortened version because this was a comparison to the Enzo Maresca stuff. But it's important to play it again. So this is what you're saying about Ruben Amorim, and then the whole point of this was look what he says versus about Amorim versus Maresca, who now is unemployed. He is no longer the Chelsea head coach.
We already know that Ruben Amorim is going to be here for the end of the year. So what are you so scared of? It's not changing. What are you so scared of? Because I think there's people that are scared he's going to be successful, and that's why they get so upset about it. Because if he is successful, then they will be wrong.
Now, this is what you said regarding
João Pedro, Andre.
This is regarding Enzo Maresca.
João Pedro, Andre Santos, and that maybe 9. I would take 9 players from their squad and stick them in our team.
Would you stand by that? 9 players?
From that Wolves game to that game, contextually, by the way, not our starting.
Right.
Not our full strength team. I was talking about the games on the same day because that was Bournemouth. They drew at the same 30 minutes before we drew to Wolves. So yeah, 9 players in that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, Maresca's doing a terrible job. If Amorim had the team Maresca had, or even close, and we were on the same number of points, sack him yesterday.
Any extra context to be added to that one?
No, I agree with it. If you were to put Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in United's midfield and we weren't doing better, sack Amorim. If you sign one more player for Amorim and we don't get better, sack him. It's easy as that. Chelsea have a better team than us. They have a better team than us.
Well, and they've certainly achieved more over the last 12 months, with trophies, with league position, certainly. So what you're saying there is, are you suggesting that Ruben Amorim is getting more out of less, whereas Maresca didn't get more out of what he has, which is better than what we've got?
I would more argue that Ruben Amorim is getting about what we expected. We can all look at the polls and the opinions from the start of the season. Most people said 6th was fine. We're in 6th. I think Amorim's about where we expected to be, where most fans expected to be. Whereas I think Chelsea are a lot worse. We had people saying they were going to title charge this year. People were saying they were guaranteed lock, top 4, top 3 clubs. It was Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. Maybe we'll see if City catches up, and then we were way down there. We're on the same points. Let's not beat around changing the past. People hyped up Chelsea a lot at the start of the season. And 6th was the expectation for United. We're there. We're in 6th. So I don't think Amorim's overachieving, but I do think Maresca heavily underachieved with that squad. And to give you some stats on this, which I posted earlier as well, over a 6... yes. There you go. Thank you. Excellently done. Maresca's points total per 19 games has never equaled the guy who was before him. In the 6 months before him. It's been a steady decline for 18 months in the league. That's a decline over an 18-month period, a regression. So you could argue Maresca's made no impact on Chelsea for sacking Pochettino in terms of their league form. That's the argument that I would make in that. But that's also just how I see football in general, for what it's worth. I mean,
The pushback may maybe see, Mark says it here, that Chelsea has Europe. Enzo Maresca was playing in Europe. And of course, Mauricio Pochettino was not. But this was something that I raised on the morning, on the Transfer View this morning, where I said that obviously there have already been links of Enzo Maresca to Manchester United, given the Manchester City links there. I didn't personally think he'd be the right guy for it. But others are saying here in the chat, 50% win record, though, better than a certain someone. Samuel says, compare that to Amorim, to Eric Ten Hag. Are they raising a fair point there, the chat, saying that, if anything, this comparison is kind of irrelevant? Shouldn't the Ruben Amorim comparison maybe be to prior Manchester United managers, to the last Manchester United manager, and then it doesn't stand up?
Would we compare Iraola? I'll use an extreme example. Would we compare Iraola to Pep's record to determine who's the better manager?
No, we would compare. Well, I think you would compare. I mean, in this case, I think the question is to compare prior Manchester United managers to the current Manchester.
Yeah, the Amorim to Ten Hag one is fine. I'm talking about like comparing Amorim to Maresca. Maresca walked into a club that had won a Champions League just a few years ago, by the way, prior to their ownership, and have invested 1.5 billion into their squad at that point in time. They were already on form, the third best team in the league for 6 months prior to him arriving. This is something I have a really hard time discussing with people because people don't see it this way. And it's fine if they don't, but they're wrong. If you walk into a business and it's failing, you don't look at what it was doing 10 years ago. You look at where it is today. And that's what you have to work with. When a manager walks into a club, they have to work with what they have right now, not what they had 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. What's relevant is where it is today, because that's the starting point, right? Would you agree with that? As judge, what do you think? Do you think the start where they start is the relevant point to what their job is?
I wouldn't compare it to things that happened, say, 10 years ago, but I think it is fair to compare to the prior manager or the prior manager that was here 18 months, 2 years ago. I think that's
18
fair.
months. Let's say 18 months.
I think that's a fair. But when, or in this case, because Amorim's been here a year, then you go, okay, compare it to Eric Ten Hag, even in his last year or his last full year or something like that. That's a fair.
That's totally fair. Do you want me to present some evidence of my own?
You can, yes.
Okay,
you may approach.
Let's do it. Let's approach the bench and we're gonna present some evidence of our own. All right.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Move that there. There you go.
All right. This is a graph of Ten Hag's tenure. This is where he started. This is where he ended. The red line is points. This is where we are now. These are 6-month stretches, okay? Half seasons at a time in terms of numbers. This 6 months is better than either of the 6 months in Ten Hag's last full year as manager and is equivalent to his third 6 months. That would have been his start of his second season. It was a long. Look at this is wins at the bottom, by the way, if you want to just look at one simple number. This is wins in the league. Only league form we're talking about here. Because if we want to use Europe as an example, well, we got bounced out of the Champions League groups and didn't have Europe during a lot of these times as well. So it was a long decline. Is Amram doing better than Ten Hag's best season? No. But he started a hell of a lot lower than where Ten Hag started in terms of where the club was at. So yeah, this last 6 months is better than anything we've seen in almost 2 years. Doesn't feel like it because we've been at the bottom, but it is. That's just the truth. That's the reality of it. Just by the numbers, okay? Opinion-wise, in terms of is it a better football, is it things like that? I don't know. Everybody can have their opinions on that. I remember the stats about us conceding more shots than Derby County under Ten Hag in that second season. And we finished 8th in the table in the Premier League. We got bounced out of the Champions League in the groups. That's just the reality of it. So comparing him to Ten Hag at the moment, you would say he's made a positive impact from where we ended for the last year under the previous manager. And that's just the way I see football in general in terms of their job, at all. So that's my evidence to my case on this. I don't even think people have to agree, but that's how I see it.
I'm going to be honest. The graph does nothing for me. The graph does nothing for me because I wasn't very good at maths. And also, when you said that these are wins, is that bottom line there separate from the rest? That's wins in the league.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
And which point did Ruben Amorim take over? The third
before,
from last?
but no, the beginning, right at the beginning. That's the beginning.
Right.
Of his tenure.
So this is all Ruben Amorim.
No. Ruben Amorim's only the last 2 dots on here.
Oh, we're only the last 2 dots.
6 month stretches, right? So that huge down is all Ten Hag. That huge progression towards the bottom is all Ten Hag.
So Ruben Amorim is the final 2 dots. I got right. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. So he takes over at the bottom, and now it's.
So he takes over at the bottom, and it's getting better.
Mm-hmm.
Technically,
that's essentially it.
I mean, and the problem is also as well is this is when I suppose you are right in terms of really then those first 4 dots are kind of irrelevant, aren't they?
Right, because he's not the same team. You had Rashford in his prime during those first couple of years. You have a totally different team. The team changes too much.
I understand the graph a little bit better now, but.
I'm not asking you to agree, though. That's the thing here. It was missing a small thing here, which
agreeing or disagree. Oh, there you go. A little bit.
It cuts the legend on the top off.
Yeah,
and that gives you a better idea of the timeline.
The graph is divisive in the chat. The graph is divisive in the chat. I think more so not just because of actually what it presents, just because I think they've seen graphs and just gone, not for me. But okay. Some interesting evidence there presented by James regarding that. And actually, just to sort of circle back to this Maresca stuff, quite interesting this evening to see what has been briefed out about Enzo Maresca via Chelsea, actually. And it's actually pretty incredible, to say the least. Just to kind of show one thing here, this is what I saw on, this was on the football that's just on at the moment. If I can bring it up, I will any second if that does come up. No, is it not going to come up? All right, I'll read it out then. It says this basically has been briefed from Chelsea on Enzo Maresca. The 48-hour comment was directed at the medical team at Stamford Bridge that he wasn't happy with. There is a suggestion that Maresca went against the advice of the medical team at Chelsea on a number of occasions, playing players returning from injury longer than advised, leading them to being re-injured this season. He did not face the media on Tuesday and wasn't ill, as being told. The suggestion is those players that he was playing longer than advised and got re-injured were Reece James and Cole Palmer, by the way. It is being briefed that he spoke to Manchester City and Juventus since October. Despite briefing the club, they thought it was disrespectful. This is the key line here. The feeling at Chelsea is that he has a lack of mental fortitude and emotional maturity. Does that kind of help your case regarding this
I don't care about
versus
Enzo
Maresca
Maresca,
comparison?
to be quite honest. Like, whenever there's end times, people are going to brief against their managers and brief against the clubs and things like that. Maresca's done plenty of it. The club are going to do plenty of it. I don't know. I think Chelsea are a joke as a football club in general, though. But people were arguing at the start of the season that Chelsea were great. Imagine if let's switch it from Amorim to the ownership on that basis, because you had tons of people. I think people are confused which button to press. Maresca did a great job with hands behind his back because of poor owners that run the club terribly. But at the same time, people wish we would show the ambition that Chelsea had, was a lot of the comments we saw earlier on. Me personally, I've been consistent on the fact that I think Chelsea are run terribly. I think Maresca's done nothing of note at a club that poorly invests and is poorly run. And I think it's easy to see that when you've been that club. United have been that club for a long time, dumping money into the market where you have managers probably underperforming or not doing much, and at the same time you're also building a bad team. That's where United have been for a long time. So I think it's pretty easy to see that, and I think that's where it is for us them.
The Manchecutioner says, when James mentioned accounts who don't show their face, was this a reference to masked individuals? How do you feel about masks? Asking for a friend. Now, the Manchecutioner is a luchador,
yes,
is a masked superhero.
I've spoken a few times.
Was that directed
he's
at anyone
okay.
specifically?
No, he's okay. He's okay. No, Manchecutioner
but there are
is
other
fine.
masked
He's
individuals that you don't like?
Masked individuals. I don't know about masked individuals. Are there other masked individuals?
Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio is wonderful. Wonderful guy. Watched him as a kid. So many years. Still going, huh?
Exactly. Still going strong. RK says, in 6 months, we have lost the cup final, Grimsby, Everton, and couldn't beat Wolves. No change in tactics. In-game management brutal. 3 wins at home since October. What has improved?
The points.
RK,
the points.
Do we need to get the graph again?
The points. It's just that. It's that simple. It's the points. We also beat Liverpool at Anfield away, the only result in 10 years. Like, we were very inconsistent. We lose games we shouldn't lose. But if you take those games where you're like, oh, we shouldn't have lost those games, hammer them out, you realize if we'd won those games, we'd be in a title challenge. We're not title challenging team, so we're going to lose games we should win. That's what makes us a 6th place team. Because I'll never make the argument we're good. You know this. I come on the red carpet. I say I'm not going to get high on the wins. I'm not going to get low on the losses. We're not good. We're 6th. That's not good. it's better than 15th.
When I was seeing these clips, I went to the replies a few times, and they also started bringing up old tweets, which is a dangerous rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
But they were
always
sort of saying, what's the difference?
Context,
They were saying, what's the difference? Well, this is why you're here, to add these contexts.
Yeah.
Manny says, Owen is a weak judge, needs to push the defendant more. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. I'm not in my courtroom. Manny, time him out. Mods, time him out. Can't speak to the judge like that. I will be ruling with an iron fist. You want to see how weak I am, Manny? Time him out. 24 hours. Not in my courtroom. Not in my courtroom. My bailiffs, mods. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Yeah, we don't have that in here. Okay, don't tell me how to run my courtroom. Now, when it comes to these tweets in question, or these posts in questions, I believe this was after we lost at home to Liverpool 3-0 under Erik ten Hag. I believe this is where this is from, this post. See if we can get that up. Why are they not coming up on the screen anymore? This is concerning.
Is it because I was no?
Maybe.
Maybe I screwed it up when I was sharing something.
I'll try again.
This is going to be something about pressure, mistakes, explain it. System is supposed to protect you, etc., etc. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is not coming up on the screen anymore. Why isn't it coming up on the screen anymore? Maybe it did.
Why would it have screwed up if I shared?
I don't know.
That's a bit weird.
Because when I move layer forward, maybe if I do that, update. Oh damn, that is very frustrating. What if I try again? And
I think we're going to call for a mistrial, honestly.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you know how long? I said, I've got a bed sheet around me, James. You kidding me? I mean, no mistrial. We're not doing this shit again. Right. New scene. What if I just duplicate? If I duplicate that, would that make any difference? No. No, this is not good. This isn't good at all. Why is that disappeared?
You want me to find my own tweet and see if I can get it to come up? Because I could find it.
I mean, I can read it out. It just doesn't have the same effect, does it?
Let me give me 2 seconds to see if I can find it. Because while we're at it, I could find my tweet saying that Liverpool are shit under Slot, by the way, which was aged quite well. But,
yeah, that's quite aged quite well. If I change,
here we go. I found it. Tell me.
Oh, I fixed it.
You fixed it.
I did it. I fixed it. There you
go. The only problem is it being in light mode, Owen.
There you go. Well, it's fine. So this was the one after it. It says, I'm fed up of the individual mistakes argument. It's frankly bullshit. You know what the point of pressure is? To force mistakes. You know what the point of a system is? To protect you from them. Arne Slot described how in 60 seconds today. So I believe that is I think that's the right game. Is the 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0. Yeah.
Is there any difference between that then and today? You know, when we've been losing games recently, what we're calling out individual mistakes, individual errors. Is it still a bullshit argument?
I don't call out individual mistakes as the reason we lose, though. I think we're losing games deservedly because we're not good enough. I mean, I think the point being here is that we're talking about performing and whether we're performing or not. We obviously you're always going to have performance levels in terms of players. Some missed chances, some things like this. These things happen, and they're going to cost you games and things like that. But I think the context of this is when you're 2.5 years into your management and you're saying it's individual mistakes. By that point in time, you don't get to blame that anymore when we were sitting in, I think, 12th and just got beat 3-0. Because they're not that bad because of individual mistakes. You're that bad because of your system. You're that bad because of the way that you want to play. When you're at this stage, it's maybe more valid, but I'm not even trying to excuse the losses. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't make the argument we should be higher up in the table than we are. I think we're where we deserve to be. I don't think we need to explain our losses. You know what I mean? I guess that's the difference, is that it was used to explain why we were in 12th. I'm not trying to explain why we're in 6th. We're in 6th because we are not that good. We're in 6th. That's it.
So your response to this one is essentially that this is still all completely accurate, what you said on September the 1st, 2024, and you have not used that as a reason for why we've lost games.
Nope.
I mean,
I've certainly said that players miss. No. Let's be clear, because I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie to you. There's no doubt after a game I'll say X player messed up this chance. X player did this player. But that's just discussing the ongoings of a game that is happening. What I'm talking about is obviously in context with where the club and where the team are at. When we were sitting in 15th position, at the start of last season, when we got beat 3-0. We were sitting in 12th, and after a season finishing 8th, and we were in 15th, and we saw a whole 18 months of the same manager, things getting worse and worse and worse, and then saying, well, it would turn around if this would happen. Here's one thing about this that I'll say too, in general. I think the managers responsible for individual mistakes, the longer they're in the job. The longer they're in the job, the more responsible they are for it. When a guy joins a club in his first 6 months, and he doesn't have any transfers, like take last season, right? What can you do? You can't bench the players. You can't sell the players. You can't transfer the players if they're not good enough. You can't do anything with the squad. It's your squad to shape, to evaluate, to work with. The more options you have, and the longer you're in the job, the more you're responsible for what happens on the pitch. The length of time and responsibility for what happened on a pitch go hand in hand. So the longer this goes on, the more Amram is responsible for every single thing that happens on that pitch. And the next 6 months, I think he'll be more responsible than he was the last 6 months and the 6 months before that. And it's like a scale that goes upwards.
Does it then concern you? Does it then concern you that there's an argument that these substitutions that he's making in the game are getting worse? As by your discussions there, his influence is growing on the team, on the system, on the output in the match. And there is an argument that, well, you stated earlier on that points are increasing, and those maybe metrics are increasing compared to times gone by. But a big point of criticism is, say, substitutions, and it feels like they're getting worse, or maybe
are they getting worse, or is the squad getting worse? You know, like that's the point I was making in that Wolves game.
As the time's going on, it's more of his squad, isn't it? It's more of his squad. I don't necessarily mean just the Wolves game. I maybe go back to when we have had a full selection of people available, and it still has been a feeling of that wasn't the right sub to make.
My biggest criticism would be his in-game management, for sure. My biggest criticism of him, which I have a lot of doubts on, is his in-game management. I mean, I guess the point of it is what am I being accused of in general on Amorim? Because I've blatantly stated I'm not convinced he should come here next season still. I'm not convinced he should be here next year. I'm not even Amorim in. Amorim's going to be... Look at that clip you played, right? I said he's going to be here for the next 6 months. I didn't even say I was Amorim in next year. Never once did I say that. I didn't even say he should be here next year. Because that's not my stance. I have never once stated he should be here next year, because I don't believe it to be true yet. He hasn't earned the right to be here next season for me. Not yet.
What's the criteria for him to be here next season for you?
The next 6 months needs to be better than the last 6 months. So we need to finish with more points. Like that graph I showed, right? It went up for one segment. Going up. Needs to keep going up, not flat, not down, more up. That means better in the next 6 months than it was the last 6 months. So we earned 30 points in the first 19 games. I expect improvement over the next 19 games. If we don't see that, get him gone. Now, I want to also say, maybe we can get to it because we haven't talked about ownership at all, right? That I also think that bears responsibility on the owners to invest in the squad. Pep Guardiola was on 31 points at this time last year. We're on 30. They spent 250 million in January. He finished on 71 points. I'm not comparing Pep and Amorim. I'm saying what the owners did, what the board did when they saw that Pep was struggling. They went out and they got players and said, let's go up. Let's not let this be a situation where you're dealing with Rodri out and this and that. Let's just go get a bunch of players and start the build. That's what they have to do. That's what they have to do.
Now, I'm glad you brought up ownership. I'm glad you brought up ownership. Now, you mentioned about this is what they have to do and the emphasis is on them.
Yeah.
You tweeted back in, it was on the 20th of Feb, 2024. February 20, 2024, the resurrection of United. And this was in reference to everything being completed. Do you feel that we are alive? Are we kicking? Have we been 100%. Resurrected?
100%. There's a long way to go to see if it's successful. But when you look at what happened off the pitch, the finances and all that, United were losing 150 to 200 million a year in cost. That was all just adding to the club debt every single year. That's been balanced. We were on the limit of PSR. We were on the verge of not being able to buy players or invest or do anything. Whether they will be successful is another story, but it was also the first time in, literally 20 years that anyone had gotten something out of the Glazers' hands. And I still think that's worth a lot to the club as well, after everything that it has been through during that period of time. And there's been a lot of improvement since then off the pitch. The Carrington, the recruitment, obviously we actually have a football structure for once. The bleeding has stopped. Is it fixed? No. There's a long way to go on that. I did a video this morning on that about the year in review, but it's not fixed. It's not done. It's far from done. Job's not finished at all. But it's certainly, again, the bleeding has stopped. And now things are heading the right direction in that sense. And that's just reality. Some people don't want to hear that, but it is the truth. That's almost indisputable when it comes to the finances and off the pitch aspects of the club.
I think the issue is with this is resurrection is a very loaded word, isn't it?
Probably.
You can be resurrected and you can be even better than you were, or you can go back to what you used to be in the case of Manchester United. You can also be resurrected and be a zombie or be, like a Frankenstein monster where you are alive, but, is it a life worth living kind of situation? And when it comes to Manchester United, resurrection, like you say, is being the best of the best, which we are not. Whilst there have been off the pitch successes in certainly financial, as you mentioned, by stemming the bleeding, being much more on a firmer footing financially, there are also aspects that feel worse than ever, more dead, in terms of last season finishing 15th, not being in the Champions League for 2 years or what have you. So is maybe a concession on this one that resurrection might not be the right word to use?
I would say maybe it's not the right word. I would say that very specifically, without it, United didn't have a chance. Now we have a chance. That's how I would see it. So it's sort of like it was 6 feet under, and maybe it's not 6 feet under.
It's put
but
back
it
on
still has
support.
A lot of work to do. You know what I mean? There's breath. There's a lot before it's running marathons, but it's not dead.
Oh, that's fair. Postman Ton says Darth Owen trying to execute Order 66 on James. Matt says not looking good, bruv. Ania says off topic, but Liverpool draw at home versus Leeds. Should we be worried for Sunday? Also, Darth Owen's court should have KG on trial. Well, maybe this is going to be a thing. Maybe we will get more people in on the stand as well. But to answer your question, should we be worried about Leeds? We should be worried about every game. This is why going into every game, Tim Glassoff, this is why in every game, when I'm asked the prediction, I always go, everything's on the table. Even going into the Wolves game, I was like, don't think we're going to roll them over today. One, because other teams haven't been doing that away in recent games. Plus, the same team that lost to 10-man Everton when they were fighting each other. Anything's possible. So I think I'm a bit beyond worried at this point, honestly. I'm quite emotionally detached. But if being conscious that we could lose or get embarrassed, then I suppose, yes, I am worried. But that's the same for every game, really, And they rested Calvert-Lewin tonight, like they rested him for the game of the weekend.
They are missing Ampadu, you know what I mean? Yeah. He's going to be suspended, apparently, for the game now because he got a yellow today. So that'll be a plus for us. But look, Leeds drew with Liverpool twice in the last 6 weeks. And if I would look at it overall, I just don't react game by game.
No, that's why I've stopped doing that, to be fair. That's why also with after the Villa game, I wasn't doing the outrage after that because I was like, it's pointless. Pointless. Back into judge mode though. I do have a bit of a point of contention on this next bit of evidence, James. I'm not going to lie, right? I thought you'd being rather cheeky with this one.
I might have been being ironic, by the way.
It was this.
Oh, 100%. This is bait. This is absolute bait.
Now, for those that can't see this for what it is, this is a graph. I think it came from The Athletic. And
no, it actually came from Reddit. Someone just sent
it from Reddit.
To me.
Okay.
Yeah, I linked it in my tweet. Someone just linked it to me. But the debate was also quite successful, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah. I think it might actually be from it. Looks like an Athletic graph, to be fair.
It does, but it's apparently
it says the top is Manchester United managers' share of minutes given to young players in the Premier League. And as you can see, versus the prior Manchester United managers post Sir Alex Ferguson, Ruben Amorim's top of the list. Now, you won't be able to see this on the screen. Very, very at the bottom here. It says
I
young
didn't make
player.
This, okay? I didn't make this. No, I didn't make this.
Young player is defined as age 23 or under at the start of the respective season, that being August 1st. And you posted this with a shrug. You are now saying that this is just to rile the people up on social media.
Not necessarily, but I wanted to see what people would respond to it with. So there's one response that's of note. I don't know if you'll be able to find it or not, but Polyquestal is an account on there. He's written some stuff over the years, and he quote tweeted it and said he'll take the bait, basically.
Okay.
And then he responded to it in a quote tweet, and then wrote a bunch of tweets after that, which I responded to at the end of it prior to the game against Wolves, mind you. It's important that you know that this is prior to the game against Wolves that this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he said, it's, obviously we're not talking about that. We're talking about academy when people are talking about this type of thing, of course. But then he goes on to form his own conclusion, which he said, now, you can't really blame the manager because maybe the academy players just aren't ready and aren't good enough. And that's what you're seeing right now. That's why he's not playing the academy players. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen the reaction to the academy players' performance against Wolves, but it's disgusting.
Yes.
The way people are treating them.
I have
It's
that.
disgusting.
I have that somewhere. Yes. Let me get that up on the screen because I actually said this. Take glass off again. I actually said this the other day. I said, "Oh, people were going in on Jack Fletcher and that," and people said, "No, they weren't." You know, you just see these things.
Oof.
Yeah, this is a true thing. This was Jack Fletcher's comment section after the draw against Wolves. It says, "You play like that, hoping to get into the Man United first team. Allow me to laugh." Ghosted.
And look at all the likes too.
Like
you got to add, there's hundreds of people clicking like on all of these comments.
Both games you came on, been awful. Ghosting
one player
every time.
Can spoil the game.
Yeah.
You've had people. I saw a tweet with like 10,000 likes saying he only played because his dad's part of the club. Shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. If it weren't for your father, you wouldn't be playing here. Go and cry to your father. You know, that kind of thing.
You get one nice comment and look, it has 0 likes on it. 0.
Yeah.
Young star, 0 likes on it.
And it does, and this is kind of my point.
And that was the point of the semi-bait of that tweet, is that he's not playing, he's playing young players because we're buying young players. Why are we buying young players? Because like Sir Jim said, they feel the academy isn't good enough right now. That doesn't mean you go abuse all of the players. I think we could all step back objectively and say, when we see the academy kids come on, they're not ready for the first team yet. And keep it civil and keep it nice as that. They're not ready to consistently contribute yet. That's okay. We're not. I don't expect them to be. That's why I don't clamor for these youth players to get on the pitch every day. We know they're not ready. Ahmad had to spend 2 years on loan to come back and be the player he is. And I saw him at the academy level. He played there for a few months, and it was like, there's no way this guy's an academy player, you know. And he went out on loan to Rangers. He went out to Sunderland. We're buying young players because we don't have young players who are ready to step into the light from the academy right now. That's why we haven't been playing a ton of youth. That's why it's been slow. There's nothing against young players, but the guys we're buying are way better than the kids we have in the academy right now in terms of being ready. Look at Aiden Heaven, 1 million from Arsenal's academy. And look at what he's doing in comparison. And you go, all right, it's nothing against young players. It's a reality is that we don't have right now academy players who are ready yet. We will. And there's good talents in there. And the reason those players are in the squad is because they're viewed as players that can make it, but they're not ready yet. And that was the whole point, essentially. But I don't know if you could find the reply, but I said that before Wolves, essentially.
Yes. Well, it's good. It's good to know that was bait, because that was going to be one when I was saying, you know, because reality is
he hasn't played academy players.
That list there, you know, you got people under 23 that include Lenny Yoro, Sheshko, Dorgu, Heaven, Lomans, Ahmad. It's not a reflection of academy selection. That's more a selection of just, if anything, it's more a reflection of recruitment. We're recruiting young players. You know, that's not really. It's not really that. Tabaslow has been a member for 42 months. Says, has Amarim proven he deserves more money to be spent on him by a new midfielder? But he will still use Bruno as defensive mid. Which of his signings has been a success? Well, I suppose maybe you start off with, are they his signings, would you say?
No.
Or are they Manchester United signings?
It's nothing to do with spending money on manager. Why punish the club? Here's the point. You spend money on the manager or you sack him. But you're not spending money on the manager. If you're like, if we buy a player, the manager's going to ruin them. Then you have to sack him at that point in time. You can't have it both ways. If the ownership think he's good enough to be in the job, then you have to sign players for the club. That's all.
Like Mike says, the young players we want him to play is Mainu, Kone, and Lacey. This young player argument started over his treatment of Maino. Please don't divert.
Well, there's the bait being successfully done. It's all about Kobbie Mainu. It's not about anybody else. Let's not lie about Ruben Amorim's record. Everything is about Kobbie Mainu on that. That's it. That's the truth. That's all I'm asking people to admit. Has nothing to do with making it about academy and youth. It's Kobbie Mainu. People want to see him play, and that's it.
I would also say, like Mike on that one,
and he's injured.
The thing about the young players you want him to play is Kone and Lacey.
Kone broke his eye socket for 3 months.
I would say you want him to play them until they play, and then we probably end up seeing the Jack Fletcher thing again. And the reason I say that is because it was the same thing that happened to Chido Obi last season. Chido Obi played last season, and I remember he played against Fulham, and he missed a couple of chances, and he got absolute pouters for it. And
worse than Hoyland,
and
all sorts of stuff. Yeah,
with those people, it is play the kids until they play them, and then you realize that they're kids.
Yep.
I do agree that the young player argument it is centered around Kobbie Mainoo. That's really the issue. And if anything, it's got weird that actually it's turned into something else that it's not Kobbie. Maybe
just
that's
keep
because
it on
Kobbie's
Kobbie
injured, so they've got to keep talking about that. Perhaps.
That's why I said it's bait, because it's like the argument to me is false. It's always been about Kobbie Mainoo. Kobbie Mainoo would be playing right now if he was fit. He's not. Academy players are playing. I think that Amram has already debuted as many players as Ten Hag has. You could say out of necessity. I don't think he's done amazing with academy players or anything, but it's always been about Kobbie Mainoo. It's not really about anything else.
Now, this is interesting. This is one of the last bits of evidence that I have here. This was a post that you did on December 31st, and I think it actually was the graph that you put up earlier on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably.
It said year in review is going to be very interesting. Just to put together a graph of the last 2 years. A bit surprised what this looks like to BH. Definitely going to piss off people who are entrenched in a position. Now, this account replied to you by saying, fella, you are the one entrenched in a position. Oh, my God. Would you agree or disagree with that? Are you entrenched in a position? Are you not willing to listen to new evidence? Are you just, it's got to be Ruben Amorim to succeed, INEOS to succeed, or nothing else?
No. Like I said a few minutes ago, I'm not convinced Amorim should be even in the job next year. To me, he's on trial for the next 6 months. He's had a year at the club. There is progress. I want to see continued progress. I'll be honest, though. I was surprised when I put that graph together because I was curious to say, what does it look like over the span of like a few years? Because my argument has been for a long time, at least my perception of things with my own eyes, is that things got really, really bad, and that's what we're climbing up from. And I think there's a lot of evidence that confirms that. But no, I'm not entrenched in any position. They could sack Amorim tomorrow, and the only problem I would have with that, I mean, here's what's funny, isn't it? I guess, how do you even answer it? Because how would we tie those things together? If the ownership sacked Amorim tomorrow, I would think they're idiots. And the reason I would think they're idiots is because they bought a manager who they said we're going to give time to, and we're going to follow through and build a team around him, and we're going to give him the season, and we're going to give him players. He asked for different players in the summer, including a midfielder. They didn't do it. If they sacked him now, it would be just as much a poor reflection on them as it would be on anybody else. Because not necessarily, it doesn't mean Amorim's the right guy. It means they don't follow through on their own intentions. And my biggest call out for the ownership is don't bullshit us about January and say we can't find players in January. Because you've made a point that Amorim is here because it's not his squad. Sir Jim said that Amorim needed at least 2 more windows. Well, if you don't spend in one of those windows, what does it matter? That's not a window then. It's just a month in a year. You have to bring players in during those windows in order to give him time. So don't be a hypocrite and say, we know we're bad, but it's because it's not his team and we haven't given him players, and then sack him, because then you're just a liar. That's my position on it, essentially. If they give him players and we don't get better, sack him. If we don't get better in general, sack him, to be fair.
I think this is when it goes back to, isn't it, is that, and this is kind of where I'm at with it as well, is that is why I'm emotionally detached at the moment, because like you, I do realize that basically nothing is going to happen. I'm on record. You asked me what my feeling on it was. I've said it months ago. I don't think Ruben's going to work out at United. If it was me, even though it would have been blowing it up early after the Grimsby game, it would have been too much for me. And I was on the fence in the summer anyway. I don't think it's getting better. At least then it's early in the season. You know what I mean? I think after that point, and with the public backing since then and the up and down results, it's very clear he's not going anywhere anytime soon in terms of the rest of this season, unless it gets to a point where we really fall off the edge of a cliff and it's realized that we can't salvage it at all. But I do think he's been incredibly lucky. I think he's been incredibly lucky and fortunate that managers, not just at United, but in the Premier League, will be let go for a lot less than Ruben Amorim has done and achieved. And I think that with that backing, there has to come some level of improvement. And I do, for me, it is a results-based industry. And if what you're saying is there, like, the results are improving, it's just that it doesn't feel like that, does it? And
I
I
mean,
know
bear in mind, I'm not
empirically,
saying it. It is
yeah,
empirical. The results
I know
are improving.
empirically, and that's why, for instance, after the Wolves game, people go sack him tomorrow. He's not going to be sacked, but it is this kind of feeling of, man, we're getting so lucky here in the sense that if it feels like if it was a normal season and those clubs surrounding us were doing better, we'd be in a lot of trouble right now. Maybe that is going to happen, but
Maybe.
there's nothing. But there is also, I feel like there's just nothing that we can do or say.
Who
I
is
think
the
INEOS
manager out there as well, I would add to you, that's going to come in, that's supposedly going to
uh,
fix it with
I mean,
all
to
these
be
struggling
fair,
managers out there? I'm just saying it's
with
a
that,
guess. It's a
I don't
gamble.
really care too much about,
I
because
don't. That's
sometimes
not the
people's,
why you don't make a change, for what it's worth. I
yeah,
agree
yeah,
there.
exactly. For me, it's stuff like that when people go, oh, because I think that's sometimes that's like the gotcha, push you back of,
Oh
well,
yeah,
who would you get then? And then you go, well, that's not really for me. And also, if I was in charge, I'd ask someone to make me a list based off
of
data,
course,
and then I'd
of
have,
course.
I'd have a look
Yeah, of
at
course,
it.
of course, and you should. I think that for me, one of the things that's a bit amusing is that we have an improvement of results. We weren't even in a lot of these games last year and the year before where we're saying, well, we let that point slip. I think we've lost 12 points from winning positions. So this is a crazy one, all right? And it just doesn't make the things necessarily better. But someone sent me a stat saying that, like, last year, our halftime record at Old Trafford was only in danger twice, like the whole season. And that meant we only had a first half lead at home twice. This year, it's already been like 7 times or 6 times or something like that. And it's one of those things where you go, there is improvement. The fact that we're even disappointed that we haven't won these games is actually an improvement. Doesn't feel like it, but it is. That's why you look at the table as a whole to judge. And that's what I'm looking at over the longer period of time is the table. If we are up in the table, it's improved.
Is the problem though comparing it to last season, because last season's so low and
what
so
about the
bad.
prior season? It's still better than the prior season too. It's better than the last 2 years. Fair. You know what I mean?
I just feel like
I agree with you there.
Compared to last season, anything compared to last season, it's going to be an improvement, and it doesn't feel. It doesn't feel like that's a not a fair one, because obviously it is like this time last year, but it's also like, I don't know, like you're this time last year I was constantly shitting my pants every 5 minutes. Today I've only done it 3 times. You go, yeah, but your trousers are still full of shit. Like, that's not great. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing though, right?
Is that comparable?
Well, here's the thing though, right? Like, it's true, but it's also like, what's the point, I guess? What's like the reality of the situation? When Ten Hag got sacked, we were in 13th. Like, I guess the question is, was that a false position, or is that where the club had actually ended up? And I think for a long time, we, including myself, have deluded ourselves into believing that it was always a false position. And we are top 4 team and a top 4 team and a top 4 squad and all of these kinds of things. But we're not. Like, we have years of evidence. The tape, we talk about the table doesn't lie. We ended up in 8th. Then we said, all right, fine. Ten Hag won the FA Cup. Well done. You go into Europe. We didn't win a game in Europe after that FA qualification under Ten Hag. We had 0 wins in Europe while he was here. We drew to FC 20 at home in Europe. So that qualification did nothing for us. By the way, Emery came in and won 9 straight games in Europe after joining, compared to 0 for Ten Hag there. We don't talk about his European record, which is totally fine to me because league form's what matters for me as well.
I mean, I remember one European game we didn't win, and that's
me too. But that's also why I don't talk about European games, because you win 9, you lose 1, whatever. But we were winning 0. So we got worse, and it's like, how many more years do we need of evidence that the club was that bad? Where is the God-given right for United to be a top 4 team? It doesn't exist. We're not a top 4 team just because we're Manchester United. It's been run into the ground. And that's that's the debate, I suppose. If you think last year when Ten Hag was sacked that it was a 13th place team, but it was actually like a 4th place team, then you're going to look and say, all right, well, we should have been in 4th last year. Now we're in 6th, so it's worse. I don't know. I mean, what was it? We don't. None of us know that. We all make different assumptions. That's my problem with like the standards word being that gets thrown around. The standards have been long gone. We don't like standards is just a word. Standards is an aspiration for where the club need to be. That doesn't explain where it is. Where it is where it is. At the end of the day, when you finish 2 seasons in a row down the table, that's who you are. How can you say any different? I mean, look at Tottenham. They finished 17th last year. Where are they right now? I think they're in 10th, 11th, 12th. They're not exactly flying up the table from that low position. Was it false? Not really. They haven't shown yet that there was a false position, that they deserve to be so much better than that.
I suppose finally with this, now when it comes to the verdict, okay, this will be revealed on the next episode of Trafford Talk, okay?
We didn't talk about my getting paychecks from INEOS and stuff like that either.
Well, I wanted, okay, we can get that on the record. Okay, I can ask you categorically, did INEOS give you brown envelopes filled with cash to say nice things about them?
The first time I met Flex and KG in person, this is Las Vegas. Now, yes. The year is 2023. For those of you who have figured out how to use a calendar, which is usually not the people who accuse me of these things, that was before INEOS came into the club, before they had any involvement in the club. And I had my press pass back then. That was before Ruben Amorim. That was before Richard Arnold was gone. That was before John Murtaugh was gone. That was before any of them. I had press access at that time. It was the first US tour in a while.
At that time, were they in active negotiations to purchase Manchester United or purchase?
No, they'd only put in a bid, as far as I remember, from 2023.
But they were in the process of seeing financials at that point of the club, and they'd gone to Carrington.
Probably, yeah.
So we
My
can't
access
state that
was given,
but we can't state that INEOS were not somewhat affiliated or linked to the club, though, can we?
No, they weren't. They genuinely weren't. But I also want to add to you, given Owen, that you know how this works, so you can be a good judge on this. You put in your applications through the stadium in order to get press access. By the way, for anybody that doesn't know, you apply to the stadium, Allegiant, the stadium's who approves you. There's a PL Summer Tour. You're actually applying through the Premier League to get access.
Yes, that is one way. There's also another way to do it. Is you have INEOS let you in. They bribe you, and they can go in. No, seriously, the other way is to sometimes get the media accreditation. Is you actually have to go to the people that promote the tour, which is a lot of times separate from even Manchester United.
Yes, usually it's not even the club.
No, the last few ones have been. They were involved with like LA Galaxy and stuff like that. They've been
they're totally different. They're US based like media companies. They have nothing to do with Manchester United.
It's usually
and that's all your contacts on it. And then they have your name on a list, and you have to like do all that shit and submit your applications through them and things like that.
Yes. So categorically, you're not on the INEOS payroll. You're not lead chemical engineer at INEOS.
Absolutely not. No.
These are the opinions of James and James only. Going back to, again, I will leave the verdict up to the comment section. So if you're watching this after the fact or you're watching this afterwards, you have to put in there what you think. I don't actually technically know what you are accused of. But,
probably just the last thing, to be quite honest. But like, I don't know. Like I said, it's either Amorim's camp or it's INEOS's camp. But I've been here a long time. Some people don't know that. I've been here a long time. I've been here before all of them.
Longer than me. Longer than me. I remember reading stuff from you in like 2019, maybe.
Yeah, I've been here since before COVID. Ollie was manager. Well, fuck, man. It's 3 managers ago.
Yeah. So if you're watching after the fact or even after this and you're in the chat at the moment, you got to go to the comment section. You got to let us know what you think. I have no idea what James is accused of. Maybe, again, the INEOS payroll, he's saying categorically not true. He has a plea of not guilty.
Why would they? I mean, that'd be a question I'd ask for anybody with even the slightest bit of fucking sense. Like, who am I? Okay.
I would say no disrespect, but there are probably others with maybe a wider reach. You know what I mean? If I was really part of that PR plan, I would go, I'd find
there's a genuine expose that people were paid by certain Qatar PR firms during the thing where they posted literally copy pasted images and things from Qatar. And I think that's where it started, is that you know, the thing of you accuse your enemy of doing the thing that you're doing as a
Yeah.
means of deflection. That's where it started with the INEOS thing.
Yeah.
Like people thought I was running a PR campaign to get them in. I just have good sources. Suck it up.
Well, and also with that is it did turn out that some of the things you were saying in that whole takeover strategic alternative thing did turn out to be correct. They did turn out to be
not PR.
accurate.
They were just true.
Yeah, did turn out to be.
I'm just well
correct. So
sourced. It is what it is.
I will leave it to the jury to come to a decision on that, and then we will find out what happens next, folks. Nathaniel says, "Free my homie James. He ain't done nothing." And that means court is now closed for today.
Adjourned.
Make the noise. Adjourned. Thank you. There you go. We go back to. Where'd the judge go?
I will confess to one sin, my friends. I've gained a lot of weight since I bought this jacket, and I can't button the thing.
I will also say, just even having those glasses near my eyes, I can barely see anything. So for those that were saying the judge is compromised, he's blind now at this point. So there you go. Be sure to smash the like button. Be sure to subscribe. The verdict, Manchukushner says, what was the verdict? We'll find out next time, because like any good court drama show, you have to find out next time. You've got to tune in next week. So yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of not guilties in the chat, and I'm sure that I'm sure that that's true. Here's the problem. How do we prevent brigading from people who don't actually watch the video on Twitter? Because we know that I have some haters out there, and it's not a jury of unbiased peers, you know, if it's done like that.
Well, look, actually the comments on this video will be, the only people able to comment are subscribers and members. So these are people that are legitimate, you know, they are part of the UV community, and the UV community will judge like they do anytime, court case or not. They are always there. They are, I won't say fair and balanced, call it down the middle, but every jury has their own biases. Okay, that's what jury selection is usually before, but jury selection sometimes doesn't go very well. So, you know, we'll see that. We've taken this off of social media and into the UV community, which is a safe space. So yes, there you go. So big up. In all seriousness, big up to James for being a very good sport, because sometimes people can get very prickly with this kind of stuff, but it's good to have an actual discussion without insults. You notice at no point did I have to tell James to fuck off, or that he doesn't know? You don't know football because you're from America and all this kind of stuff, right?
Nor did I.
You know, it's all about having an opinion and debating it, and that's what it's actually all about. It's about engaging with each other, you know, discussing the club that
there's
we
a comment
love.
there, by the way, that I think would be good to pick, because you said, what am I guilty of? And this Peelstrom, he says, guilty of what, or innocent of what? He never even defended the manager, and he's right. That's the funniest thing about all this. I never even defended Ruben Amorim in this entire thing.
What I think is maybe this might be the critical thing in the guilty or not guilty. I think the biggest piece of evidence coming out of this trial, is that you're not Ruben Amorim in, you're not Ruben Amorim out, but you're on record by saying if he doesn't really get European football, or even if it's just at the end of the season, if it's not good enough, improve, then he should be gone. He should be sacked. And that is something that is worth revisiting in 6 months' time. Indeed.
Lock it in.
Because if James pivots from that can be certainly something that was discussed. As Manchukushner said, that was a gasp in Spanish moment. I heard a lot of whispering in the gallery of that one going, you know, so maybe that is the critical piece of evidence there, and maybe that might mean something in future. Maybe that might mean another trial on the horizon. Maybe that will be. So there you go, folks. If you want to find out some more after trial or some more evidence, you can subscribe to the Muppetiers. Links in the video description below, as per usual. And James will be back on the red carpet on Monday, and I'll be after the Leeds game. So we will see what happens, and maybe there might be more requests for more court appearances. But I tell you what, I do like the fact that now the court exists. You know, the court exists. We've got evidence. You know, we can do it all. This is good. So we will revisit that in the future. So big up to everyone for tuning in as always. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good New Year's Day. If it's just wrapping up like it is over here in the UK, or if we're, James, you still got more of the day to come. So I hope you enjoy your New Year's. Here's to a happy and successful 2026 with no more court cases until the next one, until next week. Anyway, we're out of here. Peace.